Oh my gosh, Jonathan.
Oh my gosh.
It's been so long. I feel
it has been a long time.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. So to start everything off, I'm currently in a grieving process right now. At the end of October, I lost my dog. She was 7, and she was in the hospital for a week, and it was terminal and all that stuff. So it's been a journey. I find it very interesting that in my wanting to, move through this, I've been going to the movies and because I loved going to the movies, and I thought that I would go and kind of be able to turn my brain off for 2 or since it's 2022 and every movie is 3 hours, 3 hours. But what I've been finding is the themes are really connecting with me directly. I went to go see Black Panther last night. I know that we had talked about that film, and I have so many thoughts about that. And I also saw Till, and I also saw Tar, and yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to start with I'm in a space right now, but I'm here, so I'm counting that as a success.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're
pajamas.
Here. I mean, so be it, right? Like we thankfully it's we don't have the visual medium constantly as, some other podcasts do, but yeah, I mean, we might have sort of talked about this before, where we have this like plan of, all right, we've got all the things together, all our ducks in a row, and we're gonna record something specific. And I believe initially we were thinking about doing something about Black patriotism, kind of what that means, or even Black veterans, especially, I mean, Veterans Day is past at this point, but just, thinking about another avenue or another, section of Blackness here in America, and not just how we built this country, how we fought for the country, all the things. And I know that it was such a tough time for you, and my heart broke for you seeing everything with Daphne, and just it was so sad, especially as many people know that your pets are like your family, right?
Yeah.
And so, you kind of lost a family member, and then I'm going to edit out the details here, but I've been struggling the last couple weeks myself. It has opened up a lot of wounds for me that were healed, and it just, the whole thing is triggering. Yeah, we're both hardly keeping it together.
Man, I'm so sorry to hear about that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you're going through it.
Thank you. So we kind of pivoted to think about something happy. We were going to do actually the episode on Till also. That, would have been nice to talk about Emmett Till, of course, and I'm sure in a future episode we will. But I did watch Black Panther, the first one, and then went and saw the second, Wakanda Forever, over the weekend as well. And so this episode, we'll focus on Black Panther, right?
That's great.
Okay, perfect.
That is great.
Beautiful. And so for everyone listening, this is all sorts of spoiler alerts galore. Okay. So Black Panther 1, if you haven't seen it, that's on you. Wakanda Forever, that's not necessarily on you because it is new to the box offices, or new to the box office. So maybe you haven't gotten out to see it yet, but the connection to, now we know how we always, go into our Black history. There's so much appreciation for the Black Panther films, especially with the connection to the enslavement period and beyond, more modern day. it's kind of like a pivot or like a ping pong because you get a little bit of both. A
Hmm.
lot, of what we typically talk about.
Absolutely. I think that the bridges that were built through the storytelling in Black Panther 2 to what we deal with in our world is interesting because when the first movie came out, I feel like it was in response to conversations about Black Lives Matter,
Mm.
and I don't think defund the police was even a thing back then, but it was a lot about identity, representation. Black people are here, and this is a strong showing. In fact, Black Panther holds a very special place in my heart, the first movie, because the weekend that came out, I went to go see it. I happened to be in Atlanta, and it was beautiful. I mean, of course, it was everybody was dressed to the nines and the tens,
Hmm.
and it was just like everybody was so excited, and just I remember listening to all the Stars by Kendrick Lamar and SZA on the highway back to my Airbnb and just being so elated in my little blazer, because like,
Hmm.
yeah, we're dressing up. It was a whole event, and that movie was so beautiful and representation was so important. And I think that in Black Panther 2, two major things that I got from it were obviously the journey of grief, which
Hmm.
we'll get into, and then also conversations about history and kind of how people really are and how things really came to be. And I think it was nice to see Disney and Ryan Coogler kind of not really mince words when it came to, yeah, this is how um, Haiti is relating to France, is relating to, this Wakanda relating to, I forget what it was called. Oh, you know what? I should look it up. It's not Atlantis.
Oh, the underwater kingdom. I don't remember the name of it either, but it plays a major role. Um,
Talakan.
mhm.
Telecon. It was just really interesting to see some of those stories, some visuals that I hadn't seen um probably ever in the media that I've watched.
Mhm.
And to have some real relevant conversations alluded to in the very beginning of the movie. I
Mhm.
don't know exactly how you want to go about talking about the movie.
I want to
Um
touch on one a little bit because there are some things that
sure,
tie it into two,
sure.
and of course into the enslavement period. So at the end of Black Panther, the first movie, so that came out in 2018. Just to give a little breakdown. So Black Panther broke the box office with $202 million domestically and 1.38 billion worldwide in 2018. Then, just as the other day, the first opening weekend in 2022 for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it broke 180 million domestically. And I didn't see worldwide numbers just yet, but I know that's about 22 million short of the 2018 release, but also 2018 was pre-pandemic. Maybe that
Hmm.
has a play in how people are going to theaters, things like that. However, it was the biggest November opening ever. So
Hmm.
it definitely hit a record there for Wakanda Forever. As I was watching Black Panther, the first movie, I'm kind of like taking a couple notes and, really enjoying rewatching the film. But at the end, this how like I don't know if this is what you took away, but this resonated so well with me in connecting the movies, but then also to the time. Killmonger is really like the the villain hero or the villain um like champion. I don't know how to describe it, but it seems like he's doing all these bad things, but he's just pissed. And he is so connected with his ancestors that it comes out, in certain ways, but he's really speaking the truth of what is happening and what he's seeing. And so at the end of the first movie, he said, this is a rough quote, but throw me in the ocean. My ancestors knew death was better than captivity. And just think about that. Jonathan, I know you know what I'm talking about. For
Hey.
those listening, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the fact that as people were enslaved on the coast of Africa, on the west coast of Africa, and taken across to whether it's, now the US or to other parts of the diaspora. Again, we mentioned Haiti comes up into Black Panther 2, in these different parts of the world, on the western side of the world, people jumped off of the ships because they did not want to live in captivity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that, unfortunately, more than I want to, just based on the way that the world is. And I think about, because I mean, I went to the Netherlands for my honeymoon, and in that trip, there's so much history about the Holocaust within that. And so just being in a room where people came thinking that they were going to get an opportunity by hopping on a train and then ended up going to a camp, and how easy that is, and like just like everything, it's a regular door, it's a regular school, it was actually a kindergarten where people were being rounded up. It's like these things do happen. And so I can feel this kind of maybe it's pride or something, but I can completely empathize, and like maybe even in a Killmongerish kind of way, really admire the people that made that decision. Of course, their lineages did stop there.
Sure.
And that's probably so many brilliant people, so many brilliant bloodlines that are stopped because of slavery, but also they knew what was up, and I can't fault them for that. So it's really interesting when they brought that into Wakanda too, just because Wakanda is idyllic, Wakanda exists beyond, well, in our head, it exists beyond, the effects of slavery and whatnot, but it's still so relevant, especially when you have this African American character here explaining their story with these African characters and talking about a real history in this fictional world. They did such a great job pulling that together. I don't read the comics, so I don't know if that's in there. I'm going to imagine it is.
I'm not a comic reader either, so I have no idea.
Right. But I thought that was so powerful and so great. And I think that's what makes Killmonger one of Marvel's favorite villains. Of course, also Michael B. Jordan, with his testicles wall to watch. Like, it looks pretty nice. But yeah, I think that first film, especially ending on that note, with our villain being right.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So powerful. And, how they continue to connect the two, again, like you said, this, sort of fantastical world with the real world, if you will, over in the US. What part of the US were they in? I don't know if they ever mentioned, was it like New York or something like that? Like that, it gave me those kind of vibes. Of being in the city. I know there are obviously many big cities, but it gave me a big urban city feel for the parts that they filmed in the US.
Killmonger's from Oakland, California.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
I haven't seen Black Panther 1 in forever, so I'm just going off of memory, but it is one of those favorite films. Like, it's iconic. That's a forever movie.
Right.
But yeah, they went all over the world. Didn't they go to Korea?
They went like everywhere. But for kind of like those US film, like Baby Killmonger, that kind of thing. That's where I was like, I know that they're in a big city, but I couldn't remember where exactly. But they show how there's like some poverty and theft and not as much community in those areas, which is not to say that that is 100% how it is, obviously, but there is some truth there. And then in Wakanda, they are all about community, and they're all about their family and honoring their ancestors, and really those values, and bringing up your community, just like Mary McLeod Bethune, each one teach one kind of thing. And so then from Wakanda, T'Challa and Shuri go back to Oakland, and they're like, all right, we're opening a school. We're going to do all these things. We're going to teach about engineering. We're going to teach about science. And so they're really, going back to help build it up, because they realize that that's what's needed.
Yeah.
And this last quote, the last little bit of Black Panther, because I definitely want to focus on too. I love this. They said, in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, the foolish build barriers. We must protect each other.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I have to chew on that a little bit, because I think also another favorite thing about 1 and 2, but especially 1, is the conversation about Wakanda's role in protecting their own outside of Wakanda, and what that says to a lot of. I mean, this conversation was had in Candyman, the newest Candyman, with Yahya Abdul-Mateen, where they talked about kind of this separation that happens with class and power, and in this case, just geographical distance. Like, if they have access to the most powerful resource in the world, and they can do major like reconstruction of systems, and they won't, what does that mean about how they care for their people? It's interesting, because I even think about that with us. Like, I feel guilt about not going to every march. You know what I mean? It's that kind of conversation. So it feels like the Black Panther movies are having outside and kitchen table talk, at the same time. And I'm really glad that we're able to catch all of the things, because I know there are people in the audience that are like, oh, well, that's silly. Okay, next,
but don't feel bad about that. I think this is where, again, they broke down that barrier, realizing they needed to protect each other. So they were done with that. They were like, no, we're all brothers and sisters. We need to be there for one another. Don't feel bad about not going to every march, because you can only do so much. It's not that you don't care, in the sense where Wakanda was like, nah, we're good here. Like, we got our people, we got, it's, that's a different take of feeling bad about, only being able to do so much versus refusing to do anything. Those are two different things.
That's true. That is true.
So the second movie,
baby.
Wakanda Forever.
Oh my goodness.
First of all, I should not be crying in the first 30 seconds of the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So I thought that was a beautiful poetic opening. So spoilers, run away, pause it, whatever. We're about to talk about it. But 2 is a cold open, and it starts black, and you can just hear the voice of Shuri saying a prayer to Bast about her brother. And so, like, I'm a movie industry person, and I had heard that they were testing different ways to kill off the character of T'Challa. And the one that they were probably going to go with was a CGI, Black Panther dying in war. And then it tested, and people were like, that's too much. And I'm so happy that they just went with what actually happened, because another aspect of this movie that makes it powerful is that the grief that these characters are having is the grief that the actors are having, because nobody knew that Chadwick Boseman was sick, going to die, and this was all rearranged. Like, this story was not the story that was planned, in the MCU timeline. Like, this was pulling things together to make things work in the circumstances, and the pain that we see is actual pain that everybody on set is going through. I thought that was so powerful to start with that.
It was so powerful and just really beautifully done, because I don't know the actress's real name who plays Shuri, the
Oh,
scientist.
Letitia Wright. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was very close to Chadwick Boseman, who
Hmm.
played Black Panther in the first movie, um, in real life. And so to me, I felt real emotion. I'm already like, again, fragile. So you could like puff and blow me over,
Hmm.
but it was so beautifully done and really, to me, raw, sincere emotion about losing her friend
Yeah.
and losing, a castmate and a family is what I
Yeah.
really gathered from that, which was incredible. And
Yeah.
I loved, um, they're having this like a funeral service, but to me, it felt more like a celebration of life, which is
Hmm.
like, my friends and family listening, like knock on wood, when I go and, another 50 years or so, please remember this episode that I want to go, I want a celebration of life. I want there to be music and I want there to be dancing and things that I loved as well. So like, if you could just, T'Challa my funeral, that would be great. Um, I loved that they all wore white.
Hmm.
In many other cultures, it's more of like purity and a rebirth versus, here we wear a lot of black, mourning and kind of the sad and darkness. But I really love seeing the white, and it just like, and that literally we're in the first 3.5 minutes
Right. Right.
of
It
the
they
movie.
started, and then also the opening crawl, the Marvel credits, usually they play the same clips or they add new clips from the latest movies and they
Mm-hmm.
play within the letters of the Marvel logo. And this time it was all Chadwick Boseman clips in
Mm-hmm.
silence. And
Mm-hmm.
silence was used so smartly. Ryan Coogler just has taste as a director where I feel like he is a great audience member. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that he sits just like us, like raw to like the world, and he can place himself where we were going to be with the silence in certain scenes, just because it's about more than the bang boom crash of a
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movie. This is not about that. It has that, but this movie is about Shuri's journey through grief
Mm-hmm.
from beginning to end. It starts with a prayer in darkness and it ends with a relieved tear. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
over this almost 3 hour movie, we see a journey of grief that is just illustrated so perfectly. I don't want to jump the gun here, but I just thought that I was so happy that Ryan Coogler got to make this movie even through his grief,
Mm-hmm.
and tell this story, even though that wasn't what was planned, and do so wonderfully.
When we did our grief episode, granted the grief was different,
Hmm.
but I remember you'd helped me tremendously to be able to manage my grief at that time. And you mentioned that, that creativity is an outlet, and that is how maybe one may process, if you're a creative person, is by doing those creative things, whatever that is. And so maybe for Ryan Coogler, this was it. This was his outward expression to process that grief in a different way than, maybe is standard. But for him, it was this beautiful tribute. Like, the
Hmm.
gosh, I mean, I know we keep saying powerful, but it truly was just incredibly powerful, and beautiful, and just an immaculate way to play tribute, or to give tribute to Chadwick Boseman with the silence,
Yeah.
and the clips of his, of his face and different, things that he did in past movies and such. And it really allowed you to sit in that moment and not be distracted by the music. Excuse me, the music that would typically play over those moments,
Hmm.
where they're like giving you somber music and then you feel somber. And it was
Hmm.
like, no, you're going to feel how you feel, whatever you're feeling. And
Yep.
for me, there were so many tears. And like, I know the movie theater's dark, but I like sit back. in the seat, and I'm like silent crying, and I'm like trying to turn a little bit to my left and a little bit to my right to see if anybody else is crying too. Like, are you guys as touched as I am right now?
I was shocked. I was really shocked that I didn't cry in the movie. I think
Really?
I was taking it in because I honestly, it took me a while to come to actually saying that I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a lot to take in. I definitely was expecting a CGI spectacle, as the other Marvel movies are, and
Mm-hmm.
especially now are just like it's just a cartoon at this point. But this movie was different. And
Mm-hmm.
so some of that difference now I can appreciate it. I just had to chew on it a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
um initially at the end of the movie, I was like, like it didn't give me the superhero ness, but then as a movie, it gave me it gave me the journey of somebody processing grief. And
Mm-hmm.
that was done so well. It was just done so well. And I think also with our villain, it was really interesting to have his grief be the guiding force behind his decision making. Now, he is also egotistical,
Oh yeah.
and does things for himself, which makes him a good villain. But
Right.
the taking the time to explain a little bit of history, and explain his own history, um, I thought it gave it an emotion that made him, I don't know if he's sympathetic. I don't know if that's the word I want to say, but it made him in the way that Killmonger was,
Mm-hmm.
like I understood his motive, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that he's very wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Like Killmonger was, I get it. And what's his name, Namor, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And even to some degree Shuri, I
Yeah.
like, I get it. It was like I almost everybody in there, I was like, I forgive you for your action because I totally understand why you're acting this way.
And just like as a perspective of what of these three individuals, right? So you have Shuri, who's just gone through, tragic loss of her brother. She's already kind of like a little harder on the shell as it is. Killmonger, who grew up, in rough times. I don't want to call it poverty necessarily, but he lost his father, or his father was killed. And then you have Namor, who whose family was, they're native Mayans, correct?
Mm.
In like what we now would consider as South America. The Spanish conquistadors had brought smallpox to the island, and it's wiping out their population, so they're trying to take any and everything that they can to not be succumb to smallpox again, similar to real world history
Mm-hmm.
of people colonizing places that they shouldn't be, and then killing people because they done brought all the diseases. And
Yep.
so his mother, pregnant with him, takes this herbal medicine, turns into a sort of like a fish or an aquatic sort of person who then can breathe underwater. She has her son who has ability to breathe underwater, but then also can breathe um, air. And so he's like this dual land and ocean being,
Mm-hmm.
and becomes a king of this kingdom, of this underwater kingdom. And so his pain is from what happened to his people, and losing his mother. I can't remember how he lost his mother,
I
but
think it
it's
was just old age. She
oh,
aged.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they've got this kind of mix of like everybody's pissed at quote unquote the man who's coming in trying to mess up everything. And so these three characters are just really integral to the story because we already talked about how Killmonger really just makes, these profound messages, and maybe doesn't have the best approach to doing what he's doing, but you understand the message if you can understand history. And then Shuri and Namor are like, okay, we have our people to protect, and we need to keep each other good. But if you don't join forces with me, we're going to fight each other. And of course, that happens because it happens.
Yeah.
That they,
Yeah.
it's kind of the stubbornness almost, if you will, from Shuri and then also from Namor. And then they're fighting and all their people are fighting and they're dying and they're killing one another. And then eventually really this like come to Jesus or come to T'Challa moment where unfortunately the Queen Mother, she was killed from an attack from Namor. And then Shuri, she wants to get vengeance like Killmonger would as she sort of visits the ancestors through the herbs. And she comes back and she's like, my family didn't come see me, but she needed that fire and that fight from Killmonger as her ancestor, as her cousin in that time. And then T'Challa and Queen Mother come through later to really just bring her back to say, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
You are maybe a little tough, a lot of tough on the outside, but deep down inside, who your ancestors are, the softness, the understanding, all of that, that is who you are at your core. And she really just comes through and, has this evolution to get through the anger and the sadness of grief
Mm-hmm.
and really comes out on the other side of, maybe some acceptance and this just evolution of who Shuri is, and then become queen
Mm-hmm.
of Wakanda or
Yeah.
princess.
And I know that in the comic book, Shuri does take up the mantle of Black Panther, but it was under different circumstances. And so to
Mm,
make it this journey to become Black Panther, I think it also gave some honor to the Black Panther mantle to explain that anybody could wear the suit. It's the responsibility of the person in the suit to really be the protector of Wakanda, and like how
mm-hmm,
that protection comes about is really dependent on the person in it and really
mm-hmm.
dependent on whatever journey they're going through. So I thought that was really interesting because you don't just become a good guy because you're wearing the good guy suit. I think we kind of
Right.
saw that with Killmonger in the first one, but it was really nailed down here with Shuri's journey.
Mm-hmm. Something that it reminded me of
Hmm.
was our mother's gardens. Remember?
Oh boy. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah.
So I felt like there was this parallel or this connection there. If y'all don't remember, gosh, we did this July of 2021, I believe.
It had to be.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so what did you, kind of harvest from your mother's garden?
Mm-hmm.
What do you, receive from your mother in terms of your character or, any traits and things like that? And so for Shuri to really come out on this other side in the garden aspect, it's like, okay, she recreated this herb or this flower that was grown in a garden that Killmonger had set on fire, and so she recreated that, and that was her way to connect to the theoretical garden by recreating something that grows in a garden. I don't know. It just that's what came to mind because the fruits of that garden from Queen Mother are exactly who came through to Shuri to like be better and have that realization of what needed to be done
Mm-hmm.
to save all the people,
Yeah.
save her own Wakandans and then also the Namor's kingdom, the people in his kingdom.
Yeah. I think they did an amazing job with Ramonda, Queen Ramonda's
Miranda, yeah.
character,
Mm-hmm.
because she showed a lot of who T'Challa was and a lot of who Shuri is as well in her different actions. She could be
Mm-hmm.
tough, she could be noble and kind, but ultimately she died in an altruistic act, which
Mm-hmm.
is the baseline of what the royalty is expected to do in Wakanda. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was beautiful. That was really jarring to me. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I stayed away from spoilers and I went in really raw to this movie, so I didn't know that that was going to come. And I really think it was necessary. I mean, story wise, it's necessary, but also just because this is the same thing that happened to T'Challa back in like the Captain America movie when he was introduced. There was an explosion and his father died in front of him, and that was part of his hero's journey. And so to have it happen again, explosion, causing the death of Ramonda in front of Shuri, causing that hero's journey, I was like, oh, wrap it up with a bow, Ryan Coogler. Why don't you? Like, he really did that. Also, allegedly, Angela Bassett wants nothing to do with these movies, but
Really?
she's sick of the hiya and the special effects and all that stuff. I think that she'll do a great job if they do like an animated show, and she'll come back in the ancestral plane in a wonderful outfit by Ruthie Carter, who is going to win an Oscar for these costumes. Oh my God.
They are incredible. And I mean, I almost don't even want to call them costumes because it's like garb.
Yeah.
Just like beautiful. How do you
I want to
even
know
describe
everything about it?
The garments and the headdresses and the the warrior, suits and like just everything. It is impeccable.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one major thing I thought was so god awful ugly, and I know it wasn't Ruthie Carter's fault. It was it's called a Midnight Angel armor that they gave to Okoye. I think her name was the blue thing.
Yeah, so when they it's like Black Panther had her suit. Shuri had her suit as Black Panther, and then she also built a suit for. Yeah, that wasn't my favorite either.
No, and it used Tony Stark's technology because it was the same thing that Riri Williams, and we'll talk about Riri briefly. I feel like the Riri Williams thing was just like amazing actress, but just that was marvelly. But that costume was so god awful. I was like, oh, is this from the comics or something? Because yikes. Anyway,
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that was not my favorite either.
I do. So on the technical aspects of the film, I thought that the direction, the tragedy kind of wore itself on the sleeve of some of the scenes for me. That there's pre-visualization. So they basically, years before the movie is made, they have their big set piece action scenes done. Like all the CGI and stuff is mostly done way before. So then it's the director's job to get the acts together to lead to the fight. And so in this case, it was the fight in the desert with Namor and Black Panther, which my guess is that was going to happen with Chadwick's Black Panther anyway, because it's a famous fight from the comic books. I found out later. But some of those moments where I could tell that they spent time taking the CGI Chadwick Boseman Black Panther to make it into the Letitia Wright Black Panther, make her thinner and have a more feminine frame. That stuff really took me out of the movie. So there's a bit of for me, bumpy ride through this film, because there were moments where I was really connecting to the grief storyline and really connecting to the human part. And then we got into Hollywood and comic book, and I was like, man,
yeah,
we're going.
I know you mentioned earlier that the Black Panther 2, I don't know if you felt like that about the first one as well, that it's not like very superhero-y. And I wonder if it's because it's not that it's not in this constant state of Western world superhero as you typically might see, because this really has a bigger emphasis on what I felt like was a historical setting, instead of having such modern technology in a way. But then also, like, you have the Mayans, right? Like the whole underground world, and I believe that they were speaking I want to say Mayan. I'm not sure of
I don't know the
the
language.
language exactly, but let's say it was Mayan or some, native language to like South America, or surrounding islands, and then above they're speaking Spanish, and then
Hmm.
you also hear some French when they're in Haiti,
Hmm.
and then obviously English is the main language spoken, but it, it's really incorporating like so many really kind of like a third world
Hmm.
point of view, not like a main or like a first world country. If
Yeah.
that, but then like Wakanda's like not a third world country, but it has first world technology, but they don't have the first world dress. It's this
Hmm.
merging of so many different um I don't know what we see now in society
Yeah.
aspects, but
Yeah.
it's not that. Like it's not intended to be that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was so natural. That's what
Yeah.
was really cool. It
Yeah.
was just natural, and for me, I thought it was cool that, like you said, the different languages were just spoken in different places because
Hmm.
that's how people talk. Like half of my audience last night, well, of course, there was a bunch of white people, mostly black kids and Latinx kids or Latina
Hmm.
kids. And that was, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I was like, I'm really happy that your history has been displayed in such a gorgeous way
Hmm.
on screen. Now, I don't know about accuracy. I don't know about all that stuff.
Sure.
But the last time I saw this was in Road to El Dorado, the DreamWorks animated movie from like the 90s. Like,
Oh wow.
this has been a while since this stuff has been talked about. So if you have a connection to indigenous culture, it's just nice to see and not through a white lens, like you said. And I think what Black Panther also does, especially in two, very, very well, is isn't from an American view. Like, oh, this land, because to before they found out about Black Panther and vibranium and all this stuff, they thought that Wakanda was where people went and farmed, and they didn't know about
Exactly.
all this deep technology and all this kind of stuff. And I think also that's kind of in an allegory for how Black culture has been mined,
Hmm.
especially in the social media age. They're like, oh, they're tragedy, whatever, whatever. And now it's like, I'm gonna wait for the black girl to do the dance so I can get a million followers and do it on Jimmy
Hmm.
Kimmel. Like it's this story that plays on and on again. So it was
Hmm.
interesting to see how they wove all these different messages in, even with Namor talking to Shuri about, hey, either we're gonna ally up or I'm just gonna get you. Like that's war
Exactly.
negotiation.
Hmm.
Like that's just what's happening politically right now. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
woo, they did that.
And what was the name? So they, uh, Shuri and Okoye went to the U.S.
Oh
and
yes, to get
grabbed,
Riri Williams.
yes, and
Hmm.
they get her from, was she at MIT or something? She
She
was
was at
at,
MIT. Hmm.
yeah, and like an incredibly brilliant sort of scientist, if you will, just like Shuri,
Hmm.
on the sort of mechanic or engineering side. And she's the one who done built the contraption that's down in the sea and trying to
Hmm.
find vibranium, and Namor is like, shoot, y'all got this out here, we got to stop it, because then they're going to know that vibranium is outside of Wakanda, and then they're going to find my underwater world or underwater kingdom, and then know that we have it too, so we need to join forces, and da da da. So that that really sets a basis for the movie. But I do really love that Riri Williams was like, just giving that like Western, maybe a little stereotypical, but kind of like, the hell, like you want me to go where?
Right.
You want, so, excuse me,
Yes.
just kind of like a little bit of that that flavor to it, which
Yeah.
is fun, the mannerisms, the all the isms of how someone can be, just it was fun to watch for me, and very,
She was
very
great.
relatable.
She was great comic relief. The only thing I
Yes.
wish that had happened before this movie, and I know that this is coming, and I don't know if it's been rearranged with release dates, but there is going to be an Ironheart a Disney Plus show, and so I almost wish that that came out before this movie, so we were already endeared to Riri Williams. But you know what? This was Riri Williams. This was like her
Debut.
her debut, her like Spider-Man thing where it's like, okay, like, oh, he kind of, she kind of gets it. She's mentioned that she's viral online and all this stuff, but she's not in hero status. So hopefully the show picks up from here. It is not some other origin story. But she did a great job, and the actress did a great job. I heard that actress was actually supposed to be Shuri, but but she was in college and was completing that. Can you imagine turning down a Disney movie because you're like, I'm doing this?
But that's smart though, because if you're one and done, you ain't got nothing to fall back on. Like,
okay.
Wow.
But they did a great, I mean, I thought that the cast was really good and all that. And one of my favorite scenes was when they went to go get Riri in the MIT dorm. Like, I didn't think the dialogue was that great, but it was really nice to see just a conversation between three Black women. And it was, maybe it wasn't necessarily different generations, but definitely different personalities by far on the map of personalities. And it was really nice to watch that happen. They talked about Fenty makeup, and it was just like, like this is how these conversations happen. Like if you're at a function and there's only three of you there, hey, you get shoulder to shoulder eventually and just start talking about things that you don't have to explain. And it was nice to see that happen. I do know that you were talking about box office earlier. I do know that things like that are what's going to keep it from making a lot of money, because there's so much misogyny and misogynoir that is being thrown at this movie. Because a lot of people feel, and I can't say that they're completely wrong, they feel that there is a lack of Black male representation with the decision to not recast T'Challa. Which, if you stick around in the mid credits, you see that there will be something coming. But this is he was so cute. But
should we tell the people we're spoiling the whole thing? Just real quick. Yes, there's a baby T'Challa. His name T'Challa. Is Toussaint.
Yes. I need him to be 16, 17 if we're supposed to watch him in a movie.
Yeah. I mean, he's like 6.
We need a time jump. And he could be Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He doesn't look like the baby of Lupita Nyong'o and Chadwick Boseman, but it's okay. People also don't breathe underwater, so
they
have little wings.
This is still very much a movie, a fictional movie,
right?
With real world reference. But anyway, yes, and I what you're saying about Black male representation, that's really true. And I didn't quite notice that. I'm looking at it from a woman empowerment standpoint, and Black women empowerment, because it's often said that we are not represented well, or we're kind of the bottom of the line, if you will, in terms of the line of society. And so yes, it is very woman focused, Black woman focused. And you have a couple, chunks of characters from I don't remember the name, but it's like almost like the king's advisor of sorts.
The one with the plate in the lip.
Well, there's a plate in the lip, and I believe that must be somebody very real world from. I love that. I love that they incorporated, the like a traditional, country in Africa's, sort of style and everything.
The blend of aesthetics is so great. It's incredible. My favorite part. Yeah.
Yes. But the other one where I believe he fought Chadwick Boseman or T'Challa in the first movie.
Winston Duke's M'Baku.
M'Baku. Yes, but right. That's M'Baku, right? And his kind of small group of men. So you have like a little bit, but you don't really have, obviously, to the degree of the women. But I I'm not sure. I don't want to, speak out of turn. Because I can't think off the top of my head. Do we have one already that, gives us the male? Not to this degree, I know that, but you know what I'm saying?
We do. And it's interesting that we were going to be recording an episode about American patriotism, because currently the top black male in the MCU is Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie. And he was, what was his name? Like the Falcon or something. He was a military guy. But
Oh,
he
yeah,
recently
yeah.
became Captain America. And so he'll be coming out with his own Captain America movie. That's really contentious because people can't accept a black man as Captain America. But
or the Little Mermaid.
oh my God, like
yes, like
imagine.
along those same lines, right?
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
it's the same thing. So yeah, but I did see the movie, and I was like, yeah, M'Baku has nothing to do. There really wasn't much
Yeah.
black male representation. So I want to be really critical of the people who criticize that, because I'm like, oh, I smell the misogyny coming off of you. But also, it is there. It is a female focused movie, which is why I loved it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like, I mean, unfortunately, T'Challa, he's not there, but his there's still like a memory of him. But then also in this society, it seems very matriarchal and not patriarchal. And so it also makes sense on that front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And again, I don't want to be insensitive to that if I really am missing something, but it seems like this movie, for what it was supposed to be, it followed suit.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's not like Shuri is hyper feminine, which was also an interesting thing to me. Like, it was really, there was this androgynous, maybe even low key queer thing. And I know that there was supposed to be this captive person flirtation, which with Namor, but I didn't feel that. I was like, this feels like political equals having political conversations. And now she's just wearing a dress because that's what it's like giving someone a glass of water when you're in your space. I just watched this amazing video on YouTube talking about the trope of kidnapping as romance, and that's such a thing. And it's and they kind of turned that on its head a little bit with Riri commenting on how trash nice gestures are by your captors, but I didn't read any of that as romantic. And so I'm shipping I'm shipping Shuri and Riri. I really would love that. They're so smart, and
I think so too. I agree with you.
Oh, I would love if there was a black lesbian superhero, super smart couple, and royalty. You know what I mean? And then apparently the smartest person in the MCU is Riri Williams. That's according to the comic books as well.
I think that makes sense though, because I didn't get that sort of lovey vibe, like, oh, they're gonna fall in love and then become king and queen with Namor and Shuri, but there was some inkling of a look that Shuri gave Riri, of sorts, and like just that connection of how smart they are and how they can really like innovate and be trailblazers in that space. But
Ramonda
it was like
saved her life, saved Riri's life. It's there's potential there if they're ready for it.
And it's not I didn't get a friend vibe. When you have like a really good friend, you're like, damn, you're just vibing it. Like, it felt like a little bit more. Which is
it was like extra soft. It was extra care. It was beautiful. It was really cute. And I know I'm doing a lot, but you know, being queer and watching media is all about subtext. Cause like we've had
Mm-hmm.
to make things make sense and become entertaining. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it here and I want them to kiss on the mouth. And I would love
Yeah.
that. And there was one queer couple, which was part of the advertising campaign that Michaela Cole was playing a queer character. The Dora Milaje, the warriors, they, I guess in the comics are constantly in you know queer relationships, and so that was represented by a forehead kiss. It was a blink if you miss it, and I
I
was
remember seeing
so
that too.
annoyed.
Yeah,
So
it was
annoyed.
like a glimmer. I do,
No,
yes, I remember seeing that too because the one of the words she was sitting down like in like not inside like the sort of castle part of Wakanda. She was like outside. They were just kind of doing an everyday
right,
living like or interaction sort of thing like that
right,
nothing major was happening in terms of like action or whatever or
yeah,
super integral to the storyline. It just was very much so in passing. But
right.
did she say something like I really want to say she said like thank you babe. I don't know if I'm
Yeah, she
like
said like "thank you, my love" or
yes,
something while they're
yeah.
sitting down to the Marriott pool. I was like,
uh,
okay, but like, I didn't even. We had no previous scenes even giving us a clue that you guys were together. This isn't
mhm.
even satisfying. Give us Riri, give us Shuri. They're both of their names
Right,
end with Re. We could make this cute.
it's already
Like,
Shuri like
right? Come on, Shuri.
Shuri.
That's cute.
I love that we said that at the
That's
same time.
cute.
It is cute.
But anyway, that's hopes and dreams there. But I
Yeah.
just this movie, I don't know if I want to watch it again really anytime soon. Because it's made me think. It's a deep one and I love Ryan
It
Coogler's
is.
work.
It is
Um
super deep. But also,
yeah.
the grief, there's a big theme of grief and loss in it.
Hmm.
And so it's understandable that at this time for you that you don't necessarily want to watch it again. And if
Man.
you're any sort of fragile emotionally, it's gonna
Okay.
be not tough, like as in it's bad. It's just tough in terms of like you will feel your feelings and all the emotions
Yes.
all in one movie. You're going to be happy and then you're going to be sad and you're going to be happy, sad, crying and you're going to
Yes.
be, laughing and then you're like shedding a little tear again or like
Oh,
your upper lip is going to be trembling. It's all
oh,
the things
it's
in these 2
everything.
hours and 45 minutes of a movie.
Yes.
So,
You're right. And it is because of my current situation of dealing with grief because I don't
mhm,
know if I didn't care about Chadwick Boseman, like some audience members may not, they might not feel this movie. If they
mhm,
haven't experienced grief close to them, they may not feel this movie.
mhm,
If they don't like black women, they're definitely not going to like this movie.
mhm.
Um, you know, if you're here for the bang boom pop, honestly, a few of the action scenes were satisfying pour moi, but
Mhm.
it wasn't about those. You know, it just
Yeah.
isn't about that. So if you're going for that, you're not going to like the movie. But if you're interested in all this other stuff that we've talked about, it's in there. And I know that upon a second watch, there'll be even more. You know, there's all these layers. There's blackness. There's it's just a lot. I can't. I don't want to go down a list, but it's a lot.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have a now you know, you guys.
It's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. We it's trying times right
Yeah.
now and so we're given what we can give and um sometimes it's a lot and sometimes it might be like this, which is not little, but it's not as much as we usually do.
Yeah.
And maybe our now you know is more like if you did not connect, from a historic basis to what we talked about with, um, from your mother's garden, or understand the connection between the enslavement period and how that has, just transcended time through current day and how that was represented in the Black Panther films or even just in society in general. the now you know is you need to go figure out what those connections are. Listen to more Now We Know. We cover so much of these sort of topics and how it really, continues to permeate society and our lives. And so that's something that, we can task you with is to, if it's important to you, dive deeper and keep diving with us. We hope that you have a beautiful holiday season. We'll connect with you in December on something. We don't have a plan yet, but, give us some grace and we'll see you guys next month.
Wait, before we go, I have a word. I just want to say for anyone who might be dealing with what Donna and I are going through or anything, if you're going through anything, let the process be the process. Just let the process be the process. That's all.
That was processing.